Hey guys, Chris from Paramount Retirement Solutions. Welcome to video 3 in my series here on understanding Medicare, figuring out what your best option is when you turn 65 and first get on Medicare. So in our last video we talked about Medicare, what it covered and where the gaps were, and now we're going to talk about some of the ways to fill those gaps. So if we look back at our Medicare block diagram, we can see that there's two paths to go down. I kind of tell people that when you turn 65, get on Medicare for the first time, you're kind of at a fork in the road. You can either go down one path, you can either go down the path on the left or the path on the right, but you can only go down one. You can't go on both. So this video will be dedicated to the path on the left, which is kind of where we started out anyway. So if we look at what Medicare covered as Part A and B, now if we follow that path down all the way to the bottom, we're going to jump over the Part D section now and we're going to come back to it. But if we look at the name of the block here at the bottom left, it is Medigap plans, and they're also known as Medicare supplements. And that's actually a really good name for these plans, Medigap, because very simply, these plans help fill in the gaps of original Medicare. So in this choosing a Medigap policy booklet, which is where this diagram comes from, we're going to flip ahead a few pages, and now we're going to look at a Medigap chart. This chart is also available in the Medicare and You booklet that you'll get when you first get on Medicare, and something they'll send you every year. Okay, this chart may seem a bit confusing at first, but we're going to break it down and we're going to make it understandable. So if we look at the column on the left, those are a list of your potential out-of-pocket liabilities under original Medicare Parts A and B. If you watched last video, you remember that we talked about the Part A deductible. You can see that toward the bottom. The Part B deductible is right underneath it. Part A, the deductible next year in 2017 will be $1,316. The Part B deductible is $183, keeping in mind the deductible is what you have to meet, what you're responsible for before Medicare starts to pay its part. And the biggest gap in Medicare is that Part B coinsurance, that 20% that's uncapped that we see up there toward the top. So I basically like to highlight three plans. There are three of the most popular plans that people sign up with by far. And instead of talking about every single one, we're going to talk about the three most popular. The first one we're going to look at is Plan F. You can see it there toward the middle, and if we look at top to bottom, there is 100% in the box for everything except the last thing. There is 80% coverage in what are known as your foreign travel limits. So the way to read the chart is if a particular plan has 100% in the box for a particular benefit or for your liability, that Medigap plan is going to pay 100% of what you're liable for. A few things to talk about with Plan F though. It is the most popular plan, I think by far. If you look at the amount of people that are enrolled nationwide under Medigap plans, most people sign up for Plan F. It's the simplest one to understand. If you go to a doctor that takes Medicare, if you have something done that's medically necessary, Medicare is going to pay its part, Plan F will pay its part, and between the two, you're not going to have to pay anything out of pocket other than your monthly premium. There'll be no deductibles to meet, no copays. It's going to pay anything for you. However, Plan F, even though it's the most popular plan, is not the most cost-efficient plan. And there's a few reasons for that, and let's take a look at a couple of them now. One of the reasons that Plan F is not one of the most cost-efficient plans is because Plan F is one of the guarantee issue plans. What that means is when there's certain criteria that happen when you're on Medicare that allow a Medicare beneficiary to qualify for a Medigap plan with no questions asked, Plan F is one of the plans that they can get. You can see in the second column that Medigap plans A, B, C, F, K, or L are all guarantee issue plans. So what that means is when one of these triggering events happen, for example, the second one down, if someone has Medicare and an employer group plan like a retiree coverage, and that plan ends and they're now responsible for going out and getting their own Medigap coverage, they can get Plan F as one of the plans with no questions asked. However, if they wanted to go out and get Plan G, then they'd have to answer health questions, which means they'd have to qualify. This just means that if you look at the group of people that have Plan F with respect to a plan like Plan G, the people that have Plan F are going to be less healthy because many of them will have Plan F and been able to get it because they didn't have to answer health questions. And because a Medigap plan charges its premiums based on the amount of health claims that are filed, the amount of claims that are going to be filed with Plan F are going to be higher than G, and thus the rates are going to be higher as you get older. Another thing to keep in mind about Plan F is that it's no longer going to be available to new Medicare beneficiaries that get Part B after January 2020. What this means is whenever a plan no longer takes newer, younger Medicare beneficiaries, the people that have that plan are going to continue to get older and are going to continue to file more claims. So as that block of business, if you will, as that group of people that have Plan F with a particular company or with all companies continue to get older and continue to file more claims, the rates of Plan F are going to continue to get higher faster than other plans like a Plan G or a Plan N that will continue to take that new business. For that reason, as well as the reason about Plan F being a guarantee issue plan, is generally the reasons that Plan F is not the most cost-efficient plan to get on. Now if we look at Plan G and compare that to Plan F that we have just mentioned, we can see that the only difference between Plan F and Plan G is this coverage here for the Medicare Part B deductible. This just means that the insurance company that you have Plan F through is responsible for paying the Part B deductible for you, the $183 for you, but with Plan G, you'll have to pay it yourself. However, if you look at the premiums for Plan G compared to Plan F, depending on where you are throughout the country, and basically it's narrowed down zip code by zip code in most regions, the premium for Plan G is generally going to be somewhere around $20 or $30 a month less than Plan F. So if we look at it over the course of the year, you're going to end up spending about $300 less for Plan G in premium than you would for Plan F. And the most that you'd be responsible for paying would be $183 Medicare Part B deductible. And you're not even guaranteed to pay that deductible, because if you only have 1 or 2 office visits a year, then you're probably not even going to pay your full deductible, and you'll be even more ahead. And as you get older, that gap in premium might only be $20 or $30 a month at 65. Maybe by the time you hit 70, it might be $30 or $40 a month difference. So as you get older, the premium for Plan F is going to go up faster than the premium for Plan G. That's why I like to call Plan F the most popular plan, Plan G the most cost-efficient plan. So if Plan F is the most popular, Plan G is the most cost-efficient, Plan N I like to call the most economical plan. So let's go back to the chart and see the differences between G and N, because they are a little bit more similar than F and N. So if we look at Plan N, just like Plan G, you're responsible for paying the Medicare Part B deductible. That's the $183 for the year. Another thing that you're responsible for with Plan N that you're not with G are copays. So the way it's worded here at the bottom, we can see that for some office visits, you can pay up to a maximum of $20 for an office visit. Also, if you go to the emergency room and you're not admitted, you can be liable of up to $50 for a copay for that visit. The last thing that you're responsible for with Plan N is something that almost never comes into play right now. Those are known as Medicare Part B excess charges. Not to get into too much detail of what those are basically charged by doctors that accept Medicare but don't accept Medicare's billing amount. So any doctor like that, maybe a doctor that's extremely specialized at the Mayo Clinic, is now allowed to charge those extra charges. Plan F and Plan G would cover those for you, but Plan N, you'd be responsible for paying that difference if those would ever come up. So very important point to realize with Medigap plans is that Medicare standardizes them. So for a particular letter plan like Plan G, from company to company, it's exactly the same coverage. They all have to pay the liabilities there listed on the left, and any gaps in coverage are going to be identical from company to company. And like it mentions in bold down here, the cost is the difference between the different insurance companies. And cost can sometimes be drastically different with different insurance companies. That's another reason that it's going to pay to work with an independent agent like myself and just shop around for the plans. Don't go about just calling one or two companies and finding the rates on your own. The rates are often very hard to find on your own. If you go with an independent broker, then they can shop the different companies and find out who's going to be the best rate in your area for your age. Okay, you notice that we skipped over Part D when we talked about Medigap plans. We're now going to kind of zoom back out to the big picture. We're going to look at the standalone prescription plans in the path on the left. It's basically going to complete the picture with going this route. And the best way to find the most cost-efficient drug plan is really to use the Medicare plan finder on Medicare's website. Another thing you can do is actually to call Medicare. If you call Medicare, let them know what list of medications you're taking and what pharmacy you go to. They can help you find the most cost-efficient plan. If you're interested in doing it yourself, then let's just watch this video and see how to use Medicare's tool on their website.
So the best way to find the most cost-efficient drug plan is just to go to medicare.gov and use their plan finder. And to get into that tool, you just want to click the green Find Health and Drug Plans button. On the next screen, we'll use the general search option, and in the zip code box, put in your zip code and click on Find Plans. On the next screen, you'll have a few options. Choose the original Medicare option and the I don't get any extra help option. Folks that get extra help, that's called low income subsidy. You would get assistance on the premium for your drug plan as well as some of the co-pays. Most people don't fall into that situation, so unless you know you do, just choose the default of I don't get any extra help, and then just choose original Medicare. Don't put any other information in there. The next screen, we'll scroll down a little bit, and it'll give you the option to enter in your drugs one by one. We'll put in a couple common ones, like metformin is a drug that I see a lot for diabetes. It'll bring up the defaults in there, and here it's 500 milligrams. Quantity is 60, and that's a quantity every month, so basically somebody that's taking that twice a day. Another common drug that I see is levothyroxine. And again, we'll just go with the default that it brings up. And a third drug we'll put in there is timolol. And the best way to choose the amount is to estimate how often you go through a bottle. So if you had this drug, you'd take a look at the bottle and see how big it is, whether it's 5 milliliters, 10 milliliters, or 15. You would want to know if it's what percentage solution it is, and then put in there how many packages you get. So if you go through one 10 milliliter bottle every month of timolol, and it's, let's say, 0.25%, we would just choose that one. Whenever that drug list is done, we'll choose My Drug List is Complete. And next you want to put in pharmacies. You can choose up to 2. And to expand your selections, we can just expand the radius around where we live. Let's say you go to Costco, and let's say you also go to CVS. Generally, the specific stores don't matter as long as you just pick that pharmacy. That should be enough. And we scroll down to the bottom, click on Continue to Plan Results. The option we want to pick to find the most cost-efficient standalone drug plan is just to check off this first option. You can see in the zip code that we picked, there's going to be 23 plans available, and this is for the 2017 year. And you can see the results come up here now, and these are the 23 plans that are available in this zip code. What the results have done is they've sorted them by this number, this annual number. The annual number is a combination of the monthly premium every month for all of 2017, as well as all the co-pays that you'd pay throughout the year. So the plan that it puts at the top is the most cost-efficient one, based on your zip code, based on the pharmacies you put in, and based on the medications you're taking. So you can see this number of 211 is obviously the lowest. The second best one would be this WellCare Classic. 349 would be the total for the year, and then 438 would be for this Aetna plan. Humana Walmart would be 498, and so forth. And this is sorting it by lowest estimated annual retail drug cost, which means going to getting it at the pharmacy. If you prefer mail order will often let you get it for a lower cost throughout the year. So if we choose that option and hit sort, now can see this Envision is still the best one. It's the most cost-efficient one based on those 3 medications. And now it's sorting it by mail order, which is the 199 as opposed to this annual number, because you can see Humana Walmart now is the second best plan of an annual total of 204, where if you went to get them at the pharmacy, you'd pay a lot more because it'd be close to $500 total for the year. So now we can actually click on the plan name and get more details. It'll break it down into a lot more detail so we can get an idea of what our cost shares are and how much to expect to pay when we fill our medications. Here's just a recap of how much the premium is, $1460. This plan has a $270 deductible. This is showing the annual recap. If you went to Costco, this particular plan would run you the $211.20 for the year. CVS would run you a lot higher, and generally what's happening there, every drug plan will usually use standard pharmacies and preferred pharmacies. If you go to a preferred pharmacy, you get preferred pricing. So my best guess is with this plan, Costco is a preferred pharmacy. CVS, you're still covered, but you're going to get standard cost sharing instead. And mail order is going to save you a little bit over the course of the year, but just not a whole lot. If we scroll down and see the first column here, the full cost of the drug is actually the annual retail, it's the retail cost of the drug every month. You can see the frequency here is every month. And this shows you what your copays are, both in all 4 phases, in the deductible phase, the initial coverage level phase, and so on. And notice we can change the tabs here at the top. So we saw above that Costco was the lower cost pharmacy. If we chose CVS, we can see how much more expensive those costs actually get. And mail order is going to show us results for getting them 3 months at a time instead of 1 month at a time. So if we go back to Costco, we can see that the deductible phase, we're only owing $1 for each of our medications, $3 a month, and that's now shown in the budgeting tool below it, where $1460 is the premium every month. So kind of the gray part of that bar is how much we would spend in premium every month, and then the rest of it is the $3, which is the copay every month, and it's color coded down here where it shows the orange is what you'd pay in the deductible phase. And it's basically a budgeting tool, because if we total up these $18 payments or expenses throughout the course of the year, 18 times 12, it's going to be a little bit over 200, and that's where we get this total cost of $211 over the course of the year. Again, if we switched back over to mail order pharmacy, now we can see that we're filling our drugs every 3 months instead of every month, and it lowers our costs throughout the year a little bit. One thing to point out, it's not an issue with the 3 medications we put in, but sometimes drugs have limitations with different plans. There are things called prior authorizations, quantity limits, step therapy. Each of these blue question marks, if you click on them, it'll open up a window where it'll give a definition. If you do have restrictions there for any of your medications, click on that box, read what that restriction is about, because sometimes there's going to be hoops for you to jump through, or potentially your plan that you're looking at signing up for will not let you sign up for that particular or get that particular medication because there's going to be restrictions, and they'll often make you use a different medication before the drug plan will actually make you use a different medication for a particular symptom or a particular condition before they'll actually cover the medication that you want to use. So anyway, make sure that you follow up on those restrictions. Okay, so that is pretty much how to use the Medicare Plan Finder. If you go back to the previous page, It shows your results again, and like I mentioned, you can sort different ways. Each of the plans are going to have different premiums, different deductibles, but basically this plan finder is just showing you what's going to be the most cost-efficient plan based on your medications and based on where you prefer picking them up at the pharmacy or through the mail.
So now we've finished talking about the path on the left. We've talked about how the Medigap plans will work with original Medicare to fill in those gaps of where Medicare Part A and B leave off. We've talked about how to find your most cost-efficient drug plan, and the next video is to talk about the path on the right. These are the Medicare Advantage plans, and we're going to show how they differ between the path on the left. So stay tuned.